one of our colleagues and fellow pro racer, Jeremy Norris.
I coach for Ignition and I race for Hard Excel Pro Cycling. Yeah, and I went pro when I was 18 because we didn't have a U23 category, so I just jumped straight into the elites.
All right, hello everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Matchbox Podcast, where today we are doing things just a little bit different. We've got a special guest on the show. It's one of our colleagues and fellow pro racer, Jeremy Norris. Jeremy, we'll let you open up here and give us a little backstory, some history of your racing career, how you got into coaching, and then tell us a little bit about what you're up to now.
I might be disconnected again.
No, we got you.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm up in northern Colorado in Fort Collins. I coach for Ignition and I race for Hard Excel Pro Cycling. My big thing is XCO, so I race the North American UCI mountain bike circuit and then some World Cups. This year the big focus is to get back to those North American World Cups. Last year we didn't quite have the support to get there. I started racing when I was 12, which I thought was late because my first race I lined up against a guy that had won national championships 6 years in a row. But that was Christopher Blevins, so he can get
I was going to say, I'm sure everyone knows that name by now. Yep,
everybody knows that name. Yeah, and I went pro when I was 18 because we didn't have a U23 category, so I just jumped straight into the elites. The lovely experience of starting 150th and starting and finishing maybe 60th, and then restarting at 150th the next weekend. I also started coaching when I was 18. I graduated from Boulder Junior Cycling's junior program and went straight to coaching their junior program. And then I've coached about 9 junior development programs throughout the state of Colorado since then, and started coaching with Ignition, I think 4 years ago now. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably
about
right. Yeah.
2022-ish. Yep.
Yeah, I was in the pits at a cyclocross nationals, and Drew Dizzle walked up to me and said, "Hey, I need a mountain bike coach."
Yeah. That's pretty much how it works. We just recruit our friends here.
Well, yeah, so the three of us at least met through Athletes in Action Pro Cycling.
Yeah. I was going to mention that.
Roundabout ways, yep.
Yeah. I think that's how I met actually maybe not Caitlin, but I met Jeremy and Adam originally through AIA, and that's but all 4 of us, I don't want to scare people off, but all 4 of us are Christians, which is pretty cool that AIA, us being Christians, now we're all coaching, now we're all on this podcast together. It's pretty cool to see how God is working in the cycling world, and especially in all the 4 of our lives to bring us all together, and we're all on the same coaching platform. I mean, to me, that's amazing. That's super cool to see. And that wasn't something that when we were trying to get Ignition up and running, it wasn't something that I had foreseen happening, but it's pretty cool that we've now got this pretty good community of Christians who are all coaching and working alongside each other. So to me, that is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of my memories with Jeremy was, before working together with Ignition. So
yeah.
Cool.
I think the first time I met you was in AIA at Cyclocross Nats in Chicago, and you led the chapel while we were there. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I met Adam
or Jeremy.
No, Jeremy.
Okay, I was like, I don't know if I did, but
I did lead a chapel at Cross Nats, didn't I? Forgot about
that. Cool. So Jeremy, I do have one question for you. You've been, I mean, it's not just you, but it seems that a lot of people have made the jump from XCO mountain bike racing and either jumped into endurance mountain bike racing or gravel endurance racing. Or any combination of just a general off-road schedule. What has been the biggest motivator for you to stay in the XCO world?
Yeah, that's a good question because it's mostly just stubbornness that's kept me in XCO.
Good for you.
When I started racing when I was 12, I'd been watching the XCO World Cup since I was 10. I've been watching Nino win everything, and I knew that I wanted to race XCO World Championships and the XCO Olympics. So when I lined up for my first race, I was pretty doomed. And then since then, all my colleagues who have switched from XCO to gravel is because they had big sponsors in the cycling industry. And I was probably blessed to not have big sponsors in the cycling industry because I didn't have a lot of pressure to go to gravel. And everybody knows that my skill set is mountain bike and my endurance sucks. So there wasn't a lot of pressure to go race for 7 hours because they knew I would only be good for the first 2.
Sure.
So yeah, there's a mixture of things that have kept me in XCO, and it's not easy. Like trying to scrap together the support, especially with more of the cycling industry moving away from mountain bike for a few years. That was really hard. Now we're starting to see more athletes and more of the cycling industry move back towards mountain bike because your like 35, 40-year-old guys are tired of racing for 7 hours 4 or 5 times a summer, and they're like, hey, I could race for 2 on a really fun trail.
Yeah.
So we're starting to see a swing back towards mountain bike, and I think we're going to have a balance, which would be very nice because I would love to race all the bikes, honestly. Like I race road, I raced downhill until my mom banned me from it. I raced cyclocross for a few seasons. The only ones I haven't tried yet are BMX and track, but everything else.
You're not missing anything there.
Track looks fun.
Not at all.
I would love to sprint really hard for 2 minutes.
Same with BMX.
Same with BMX. I tried.
Except for you get to fly through the air.
I just got back from a training camp in St. George, Utah, and we rented out the Santa Clara BMX track with the whole junior, U23, and pro programs.
Whoa!
And
sick.
Had the his name's Killian. I can't remember his last name, but he races internationally. He races BMX World Cups, and he showed us how it's done. And then I went around pumping each individual bump very slowly. But it was fun. I think I would be very bad at BMX at this point. I've gained this sense of self-preservation over the years. It really gets in the way in BMX and track. That's for sure. I mean, crits too.
Yeah.
Bad at crits now that I have a sense of self-preservation.
Sure.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. So, how do you want to transition here, Drew? Do you want to jump straight into the topic of the day, or do you have more questions for Jeremy?
We should.
Oh, we'll do the training camp first.
Okay, let's talk about training camps.
Yeah. Training camp.
I feel like Ignition Coach Co is going to need to change the name soon. We're going to be Ignition Training Camp Co pretty soon. Got all these camps that are going on. It's awesome.
It's still coaching. It's coaching camps.
It is. It's true. Yeah. So Jeremy, you want to talk about a new mountain bike camp that you guys are launching this year. Give us all the details. Where is it going to be at? When is it coming up? Do you have spots available still? What type of bikes do people bring?
Yeah. So my team, Heart Cycling, in conjunction with Ignition Coach Co. My teammate Isabella is also a coach. I think she's been on the podcast. We're hosting.
Okay, we're back. Jeremy, tell us about this training camp.
My team, Heart Cycling, in conjunction with Ignition Coach Co., we're hosting a mountain bike camp up in Bentonville, Arkansas, from March 24th to the 29th, and that'll be we'll be hitting all those classic trail systems: Slaughter Pen, Kohler, Back 40. Good mixture of like mountain bike endurance days, and then hitting the skills parks there to work on jumps and drops and corners and just dial in everybody's skills and stees.
Sweet.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. We've got a sweet Airbnb that's like a stone's throw from a trailhead, so we don't have to ride on road at all. It's going to be a party. Cool. I'm so excited for it.
And what can people expect if they're interested in the camp as far as volume of training throughout the camp? Do you have any like structure, schedule already laid out for the camp?
Yeah, we're still working on the specific schedule. We've got to dial in routes. That's the biggest thing. We'll have some options because we'll have 4 coaches there total. We're hiring my teammates Samuel and Sydney as well. Sydney's Enduro National Champion. Samuel's been racing with me in the elite category since 2017. And he went to World Cups first. He started racing Mont Saint Anne before I got to World Cups. So with the 4 coaches, we'll have kind of some options. If we're doing like a day on the back 40 and some people aren't comfortable with that volume, then we'll cut a shorter loop and hit some other fun trails. And we'll also do some 2-a-days where we hit some trail in the morning and then do some more skills in the afternoon. So options on the volume. And I forgot the second half of your question already.
Yeah, I mean, that was mainly it. Just, because a lot of people always question their own ability going into a training camp. Most people, they don't want to go in and be either the, least technical rider or the least fit rider, especially if they're not fit enough to get through each of the days. So it's mainly just, what type of, how many hours do you expect to ride each day? How many miles? Will it be primarily single track, or will you do some like endurance gravel riding, anything like that?
Yeah, we will have options, but it's going to be mostly trail, but some of those trails it might as well be gravel. It's a gravel bikeable trail.
Sure.
We'll be on some of that trail, and then we'll be on some like super gnarly stuff. But most of those segments are about 3 minutes long, because that's how tall the hills are in Arkansas. So yeah, we'll be doing lots of sessioning and lots of stop and go. It's honestly not my favorite kind of training camp because I don't like stopping, but it's going to be really important to dial in everybody's skills and build their confidence on the trail.
Great.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So where can people sign up and get some more information? Do you want to advertise what the cost of the camp is too, just so people have some idea?
Yeah. Drew, do we have it up on the website, or do we reach out to us?
As of yesterday, it's on the website.
All right.
Okay.
And if anybody is on the Ignition Coach Co email list, they all got invited to the camp via an email yesterday as well. So
sweet. Okay. Is that our answer?
Cool, so head over to ignitioncoachco.com.
ignitioncoachco.com. There's a camps page where you'll find, nowadays this will be the third camp that we're introducing to the Ignition umbrella. I host a road camp down in Tennessee that I've done for the past handful of years. And then last year, Caitlin and Adam started doing a camp in Crested Butte that they're hoping to continue this year. So you can find all the info for all those camps on the Ignition Coach Co website. And then there's buttons for each one, and those buttons take you to a Google form. And that Google form is where you enter in all your info that Jeremy or me will need for you to sign up for camp. And then once you submit that Google form, that's when you'll receive an invoice from Ignition for the camp. So submitting that Google form is like you're signing up. That's your signing up for the camp. So, awesome. But if you've got questions, don't hesitate to reach out to, there's a contact form on the website, or you can reach out to info@ignitioncoachco.com with any questions you might have about the camps, and hopefully I can guide you in the right direction.
Dude, I like the new landing page on ignitioncoachco.com. It's cool. And then also, this camps page is pretty neat too. Man, that picture of Crested Butte just has me dreaming about that camp right now. So Jeremy, I'm reading on here, looks like breakfast, lunch, and ride nutrition are all provided, and you guys are going to have chef prepared dinners, dude. That's sweet.
That's probably the biggest difference between my camp and y'all's camps is like y'all go bougie and I go like college style. I'm like, we're all just gonna pitch in and make spaghetti for dinner or whatever.
Yeah, Drew's got people sleeping on the floors and eating rice for breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yeah. But to me, that's like, for me, I don't know. That's just like that's like classic training camp. Like, you're just going to get a different experience at my camp versus Crested Butte.
If you want insight into the stereotypical professional cycling training camp, go to Drew's camp. If you want like the world tour type training camp, you come to one of the other mountain bike camps. Yeah.
I'd agree with that. That's probably a good way of describing it.
Cool. So that's exciting, Jeremy.
Yeah, the Bentonville Skills Camp will be all taken care of, but like our heart team camp, I was sleeping on Sam's floor, and then I'm cooking and cleaning. I wake up when the first person wakes up because I'm in the living room.
It's like when it's your own budget, you're just like as easy as possible. But like when you're making accommodations for other people, you kind of have to raise the bar a bit. Yeah, for sure.
So it looks like, Drew, so that's going to come right at the tail end of your camp. Just curious, how far away is Townsend, Tennessee from Bentonville,
You
Arkansas?
could go straight from Tennessee to Arkansas. It's probably 8 hours, if I had to guess.
I mean, honestly, roughly. It's not that unrealistic. You know, it would be 11 days in total, which isn't that crazy. That's like, one weekend through the next weekend. You could bring both bikes. You could bring your road bike and your mountain bike.
Maybe we'll give you a discount. If you hit both camps, we'll give you some kind of special discount.
Cool. I like that.
A discount and some kudos, because riding.
I was gonna say, and like a belt buckle or something. That's a hefty load.
Oh, and I think we've got to cut the discount even more if they show up to Bentonville Skills Camp and drop the hammer, hit the 10-foot drop. In the trail systems back there. Yeah. I mean, cool. So Drew, I'm curious. So is your camp full yet, or you still got spots open in your camp too?
I still got a good amount of spots. I'd say probably close to like 7 or 8 spots left. for like to comfortably fit. I could fit more, but comfortably for sure 7 or 8 more people could sign up. And the price is $750 for returning people. If you've come to the camp prior, then it's $650. And if you're tight on money, then just reach out. Like I'm not super picky. If you need to take advantage, like if it's a matter of coming or not coming, then let me know and we'll work something out.
Cool. Yeah, and looks like your camp includes dinners that are a group effort and includes pasta, tacos, and stir fry.
Yep, those have been the 3 meals every year, and then the last night we go to the Burger Shack in town, and
there you go.
It's a good time. Yeah.
That's awesome. Cool, guys. Well, yeah, that's pretty exciting. So those are only coming up in 6 weeks from now, at least to the start of Drew's camp. So if you're out there listening to this and you're interested in a spring training camp, either for on the road or on the trails, don't hesitate before those spots fill up. So let's transition now into kind of our general topic of the day. So we wanted to kind of leave this podcast a little bit generic, but talking through the lens of managing your cycling, racing, and training and performance while in parallel raising some kids.
So this is a topic, man. This is a topic.
And it is, because I think this is probably one of the things that most of our listeners can relate to. Not everyone that listens to this can relate to going to race a World Cup XCO race or going to race, Unbound and trying to be at the front end of that race. But when it comes to the daily grind of scheduling and time management and training and work and life stress management, all while trying to be the best parent and spouse and employee and all that stuff. I mean, most people can relate to that on a very real level. So we wanted to kind of share some of our experience working through that individually, but also, any experience and insight that we've gained from coaching athletes through that process as well. And Jeremy, why is it so relevant for you right now?
Yeah. I've got a baby due in July.
Let's go.
Congrats.
Yeah, I'm very excited and absolutely terrified. This will be the first national championships that I've missed since 2015. I even went and rode the course.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's some interesting timing there, Jeremy.
Yeah.
So let's start with this. I want to address the elephant in the room. Does kids mean that you automatically have to sacrifice your fitness and your performance in your race schedule in your own goals and ambitions?
I thought that's why Jeremy was coming on the podcast, to ask us that question.
I know. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Because that's probably scary. Like Jeremy just mentioned, he's excited, but also a little bit terrified. And I think that's something that, most first-time parents probably do experience, some of that fear of, how is my life going to change in ways that I'm maybe not ready to hand over yet, or unprepared to hand over or change. Curious, Drew, from your perspective, you've had kids for 5 years now, roughly. What is in your perspective, how has kids changed the way that you approach performance in fitness and training, in racing? And do you feel like it's either held you back or altered or inhibited your ability to perform at the highest level?
Yeah. The first thing that I'll say is that kids are a blessing. Like first and foremost, me and Dylan have had this conversation. I think we've even had it on this podcast where it's like, you don't realize how, before you have kids, you think like, oh man, like bike racing is so important and it means so much to me. And that totally is still true for me. Like I'm pursuing cycling more now than I think I ever have in my life, like results and performance and fitness. But now there's like a whole nother part of my life that's even more important than that. So it's not like biking becomes less important. It's just that parenting and raising my kids and loving my kids has now superseded that to where now I care about something even more than I care about the bike racing. And that doesn't mean I care about the bike racing less, if that makes sense. So, and like Dylan has, like I brought up Dylan because he said like, oh yeah, maybe I'll have kids after I get done racing. And it's like, the only people who say that are people who like don't realize how much of a blessing kids are. And for me, like having kids at a somewhat younger age, we had Andy when we were like 27-ish. We're 31 now. So yeah, that maths. It was like awesome. I mean, like I think having kids is so much fun. I think, I don't know. I mean, I think the joy that you get from having kids and raising kids and loving them and spending time with them is, I mean, far outweighs any kind of joy I get from cycling. But I still get joy from cycling. So like, it's it's like a strange dynamic. It's like, and I think this all the time, but like, obviously when you have kids, life gets more busy and a bit harder, and priorities becomes like so important. Like you have to have your priorities in line of like, okay, if I'm still going to pursue cycling at a really high level and I'm going to be, the best parent that I can be to my kids, then it just takes a lot of diligence, like thinking through, if I'm not going to sacrifice this and I'm not going to sacrifice this, then how's that going to fit together? And I also should probably say like having an amazing wife who supports everything that you do is also tremendously helpful. Like CJ is like an amazing mom to our kids, an amazing wife that supports me in bike racing. Like she wants me to keep pursuing bike racing. I mean, at this point, like coaching and bike racing is what is putting food on the table for our family. So like she kind of has to, but she wants to see me keep racing. And I think she's happy for me when I do see these like good results and sponsors that are happy with me. And so, I don't know. I guess that's like a pretty general broad stroke of like my thoughts on parenting. I could go down any of those rabbit holes deeper, which I'm sure we'll do, but yeah.
Well, so I think I want to pick apart two things that you mentioned in there that I think is applicable for people. And that is right from the beginning, you mentioned that you are racing in, targeting events at a level that you have never, the highest level that you've ever attempted to achieve.
Yeah.
And that also includes the longest duration events that you've ever, before kids, you were mostly focused, a big part of your season was on cyclocross, which is, an hour long races. Now you're doing, one of your biggest races is 10-hour race, so it's the scale is kind of elevated in both regards.
Right.
So you mentioned that, and then you also mentioned that your cycling career now, in addition to running this company, is what's supporting your family. So not only have you been able to like maintain a level of eliteness with your cycling, and your coaching, but you've actually elevated it from both fronts to where like that's the main thing that you're able to support your family with, which I think is a good example of kids don't have to automatically mean that you give up everything that you're passionate about and focused on, even at a recreational level. Now, obviously, supporting your family is should be a top priority for anyone out there. And if at any point your passions or hobbies are completely inhibiting your ability to support your family, that's a different conversation. But I think what you've exemplified is that you've actually been able to transform all of that into something that you're able to support your family through, which would be like the opposite direction. I think a lot of people would have taken that. A lot of people would have said, hey, you know what, real life here, time to step up, going to sacrifice and get rid of all the things that I'm devoting my passion to, and instead just, buckle down and support my family. And I think it's really cool. And I commend you for that, for sticking true to, and, give a lot of props to your wife, CJ, as well, for supporting you through that and sticking with like, I want to support my family, but I also want to like, chase my passions and live a life that's, fulfilling for me. And, is a good example for my kids that, hey, if you put your mind and effort and you take some risks, that there are some that that's when you can get some of the most value out of life, which I'm sure you're reaping a lot of that now. So I think that's cool, and I commend you for that. Let's talk a little bit about we can kind of direct this a little bit towards Jeremy. You've got some big life changes coming up with the baby coming in July. Drew, I'm curious from your end, what was that first transition like for you when your first child entered this world and you did have this new responsibility? What were some of the things that you had to change then, but then, maybe as you got more used to it or just, started to understand parenting a little bit more, were able to, redirect at times? So Kaylin came off mute. She's got some spice to throw in here.
Give us the real dirt. Tell us how the sleep deprivation was. That's what all us non-parents are dying to know.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask, because right now I can sleep 9 to 10 hours a night, no problem. And
you say a week?
That's a blessing.
No, a night now.
Yeah.
I'm going for volume here. No, but then right now I'm thinking about doing the local gravel race. It starts 4 miles from my house. It's like 125 miles Foco Fondo. Usually it's like Alexei Vermeulen and Torbjorn that show up from the Lifetime Grand Prix. But doing that on maybe about 3 weeks of zero sleep sounds questionable. But you can fake it for 130 miles, right?
Babies sleep a lot. Like, they don't sleep, they don't sleep 12 hours straight through the night, obviously, but they sleep like 18 hours of the day. Like they're awake far less than they are asleep for the first few weeks. So like, it's just broken up, like they're awake for a little bit and then they sleep for a long time, wake. So that's what's like hard, is like when your kid is waking up in the middle of the night, because we're just so used to sleeping the night through. Like kids sleep, especially babies, sleep way more than we do. So like maybe you just have to get used to taking naps. But it also really, at least for me, and this worked out in my favor, is it also depends on your wife's decisions as a new mom. Like CJ wanted to completely only breastfeed our babies. So like I can't help with that in the middle of the night. And like for the first week, I was waking up because I thought that's what new dads did. And I was just literally like just standing in the doorway doing nothing. And she's like, look, you're like, this isn't helpful for you or us. Like you have to work tomorrow. Like I'll do this, you sleep and you focus on like working, because like we need you to work to keep providing for us. So, I mean, I guess that's just an understanding that you and your wife have to have. But if you are going to bottle feed your baby, then obviously you can help with that in the middle of the nights, and maybe you like have some kind of trade-off schedule with your kids. The number one thing that I recommend, and this seems like I don't know why more people don't do this, but like sleep schedules, like the simple concept of like knowing kids shouldn't be in charge of their own sleep schedules. Like a baby or even just little toddlers, like they don't know when they should go to sleep. Like my 4-year-old, if it was up to her, she'd stay up till midnight watching Bluey. Like that's what we're here for, is like we're here to direct and guide our kids. And I think that totally applies to their sleep as well. Like we know what's best for them when it comes to their sleep schedules. And so the book that I recommend is called Baby Wise. It's like the entire book is about this, getting your kids not just on a sleep schedule, but like it's like she calls it like you wake, play, sleep. Like those are the 3 things that you are constantly, like your kid is going through those 3 cycles throughout the day: wake, sleep, play. Or no, maybe it's eat, sleep, play. Yeah, eat, sleep, play. Those are the 3 things that you always have to have scheduled out throughout the day. And there's different parameters for like, okay, if your kid's this old, then they should probably be taking a nap every X hours and sleeping for this long for those naps. And we followed that book like to a T with our first kid. And she was sleeping the night through within just a few months. And we had like stuck to the book to a T on that one. And then our second kid was not as easy. Like, I don't know if we just thought we had it from the first kid, and so we didn't go back to the book, or our second kid also had like a tongue tie that she had to get like lasered off or whatever, like a week or 2 after she was born. And I think that kind of threw a wrench in the whole thing, that that kind of messed up the whole sleep schedule. So Cassie, our second daughter, was not like, it took her over a year to figure out how to sleep completely through the night. She'd go through phases and come out. And so I think every kid is different, but I would highly recommend that book, Baby Wise, for like getting your kid on a sleep schedule, because sleep is like so important for babies and for kids, basically all the way up till, I guess you could say your whole life, sleep is really important. But, so yeah, that's like one of the things that me and my wife highly recommend right off the bat, is thinking through a sleep schedule, because that's going to help you as well. I don't know what else the questions were.
What do you travel to races with your kids? How often? I guess how often do you travel to races with your kids?
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's really hard. When we first had kids, we had made the commitment of like, the more our family is together, the better. Which from a conceptual standpoint is like, yes, that is what we want. Like, if at all possible, let's just stay together as much as possible. So like the original idea was like, okay, yeah, they would travel, especially to the races that I drive to. It's like, if I can drive to Unbound or Mid-South or these races, like the family will come. Having now been like 4.5 years into that we've gone the complete other direction of, it's really stressful to go to a race and have your family there. And what we learned throughout trying to do that over and over again was, I am there really at this point to do my job. And to me, it's, racing and coaching has become, like my income. But for a lot of people, even if it's not their income, to try to make it relatable, like they've invested a lot of time into performing well at that event. So, I mean, I guess it depends on your priorities of how serious you're taking the race. But for me, and how serious I'm taking these races, it just makes sense that almost all the time I go to races on my own. So what that means as far as traveling goes is I make my trips as short as possible. I try to never be away from home for longer than like 5 or 6 days at a time, longer than a week. And it's just like, I miss my kids way too much. They miss me way too much. Like I've done back-to-back race weekends, like Sea Otter and BWR Cali have been back-to-back before. So I've just been like, oh, well, I'm in California. I'll just stay the whole week. And I'll get to like Tuesday after Sea Otter. And I'm like, don't even care about BWR Cali. I'm like, I just want to go home and see my kids. So like, I've learned my lesson from doing that a few times to not be gone for longer than a week. But yeah, like the few times that, the times that my family did come with me, it's like, I've got so many sponsor obligations, or I'm out pre-riding, or I'm doing the race, that like, even the time that we did get to spend together at those races was not very quality time. Like I'm stressed, CJ's stressed, because now we're, you're taking your kids out of their normal environment. Like at home, they sleep in their own beds. They've got their own schedules. We're plugged in at our local church. My wife has friends that she's always like hanging out with, and their kids, and doing play dates. So like to kind of bring them along to the race and take them out of their element to barely get to hang out with me anyways, like just doesn't seem worth it to us at this point. So I think a lot about my schedule too, like I try not to have too many races back to back to back. So like Chase, my teammate, is doing like BWR Arizona, and then the very next week he's driving to Texas to do Valley of Tears, and then the very next week he's going to go to Oklahoma in the Mid-South. So he's like going to do the whole road trip. But he's taking his family like with him. Like I think Abigail and Wout are going to be with him that whole time. So if not most of it. So it's just, it kind of just depends on, I don't know, what works for you and your wife and your kids. But for me, it's easier for me. Like I'm going to go to BW Arizona. I'm going to skip Valley of Tears to be at home for that weekend. And then I'll go to the Mid-South. So like, but my family won't go to either of those races with me, but I'm going to skip the middle race to be at home with my family. So it's a lot of planning, a lot of like figuring it out with your wife. I would say trial and error, like thinking through like, the pros and cons of both. So
yeah, I think it depends on a lot of things. It depends on what your value is around the event. If it's just like this race means so much to me, but I don't really care about performance. I just want to like get, I'm just there to like experience it, get through it, finish it, that kind of thing. And it would mean the world to me to have my family there at the finish line to give me a big hug. And like, that would be my motivation to help me get across that, finish line in under 12 hours or whatever it may be. Then that seems like an appropriate time to say, hey, you know what, let's just bring the whole family. If it's like, hey, I'm putting a lot of time, energy, money into this thing, and my goal is a PR, and I'm just there for performance, or in your case, like, I'm there as my job. That's completely different, and and you just have to weigh the pros and cons of is my family being there going to be the best for our family as a whole? Is it going to improve my chances of not performing, but also like, am I going to be there for my kids when I'm out doing recons on the race course and playing around with my equipment and like doing all the things that actually detracts your ability to be present with your family. So I do think and then there's also the added costs and logistics and things like that too. So I do think it definitely depends on the situation. One thing I do want to touch on for people that I think is very relevant here is attaching vacationing to an event. This is classic. Mom or dad will come up with this big idea of like, hey, there's this really cool race that's going on in Alaska, and how cool would it be if if I go do the race, but we make a big trip out of it, and we do a vacation. I'm not against that. I think that is a cool way to experience a new location or destination. I think it can be also tie in that whole value of like if your family being there is highly valuable for your race experience. I think that's great. One thing that I always recommend, though, if you're going to do that, is put the race at the front end of the vacation. Get that thing out of the way first as soon as possible. That way, the rest of your trip, you can just be focused on your family time. If it's a big event, you're probably taking that week off of training and exercising anyways to recover. You don't have to worry about the logistics of, I got to go out and do my recon. I got to, do this thing. I got to put my feet up. I can't be, on my feet too much. Like, you don't have to worry about any of that. Once the race is over, you can just let loose, have some fun, be there for your family. I see it all the time where people will do the inverse because they want to get to the race early. They want to, whether it's acclimating or they want to preview the course, they want to, do X and Y and Z they think is going to enhance their race day performance. And inevitably, it's like, the week goes by, you're hardly there with your family anyways because you're doing one thing, they want to go do other things, or you're doing stuff together, but you'd really rather be doing something else because you've got this race coming up, and by the end of it, everyone's just tired, and it just never seems like it works well that way. So I always recommend people get that race out of the way first and then go on and enjoy their family time after that.
Yeah, I've always found that I don't have very many neurons. So if I'm thinking about a race a week out, then I'm already... It's
all taken up. Yeah,
my wife and I are doing that as like the last travel before the baby comes. My first race block is in Puerto Rico, and first week is a Continental Series, and I'm there alone, or not alone. I'm there with the team, and then Hannah joins after the Continental Series. I have one more race that she'll watch, and then once I cross that finish line, probably going straight to the beach.
Yeah, nice. Feet up.
A baby moon. They call that a baby moon.
They do. I find it very funny.
It is funny.
It's going to be a lot more uncomfortable than that. But,
yeah, no, I mean that's a great way to do it for sure. Yeah. And the other thing I was going to add too, it definitely depends on the stage that you're in. Traveling with a baby and only one kid is a lot more logistically manageable than traveling with 2 or 3, especially like toddler aged kids. It's just you lose the first 2 years, baby flies free. Take advantage of that.
Yeah.
After
Andy went to Europe with us on my last cyclocross. Hoorah! She came with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
She flew for free.
Yeah, you take advantage of that. Especially internationally, even. Once they're 2, you start paying for those seats. Those seats get a lot harder to keep the kids in. You got to get extra minivan space, and trying to get through. Like the logistics just get more challenging. So if traveling with your family or newborn is attractive, that's a lot more manageable to do early on. Once they're moving around, and especially once they hit that kind of 2-year-old range, that changes the game quite a bit. Let's talk a little bit about expectations after after
Caitlin came
kids.
Off mute
or go
for a
ahead,
second
Jerry.
there.
Oh yeah,
Caitlin.
I was just thinking about this scenario for Blaine and I's future and trying to put myself in that position as a mom. I think if this is a race that Blaine really cares about, my number one priority, whether I'm at home or at his race, is to take care of the kids. So I feel like in a situation where he cares about this race enough to get there days before to pre-ride and go through just his full race schedule, race agenda, there's not going to be much that I'm able to do to help him. So I just feel like removing myself and our kids from the equation to just let that go as smoothly as possible so he can have a good race and come back and get back to us, like that just sounds better. But then Adam bringing up the scenario where like we tie a vacation into it, like that, I would say, yeah, get there as late as possible. Like as a family, we go to packet pickup together. The next day is the race, and then we enjoy our vacation together. Like I can see both situations, but
yeah, we did that. Actually, we did do this last year at the Michigan Coast to Coast because like it was a very low caliber race on my calendar. You know, like not big expectations. It was really just kind of like a training race for me. So we kind of did what you all said and back ended it with like a vacation the week after, and that was actually like it was a really, really enjoyable trip. And it is cool, like you are saying, like to have your kids at the finish line. Like a funny story, like at Gravel Nats, up in Minnesota, we stayed at Chase's house, and my family came because I was like, oh, cool, it'll be great. Like Chase's wife and my wife will become best friends, and like. It was a lot more stressful than that. When you bring your kid and then your kid ends up being sick all week and you're in somebody else's house, that just makes the whole thing stressful. So it was a stressful week. And then I get a flat tire. So like you're stressed out all week. I got a flat tire in the first 10 miles of the race. So then you're like, dang, I just, all this is for nothing, and then whatever. And then, so like the whole rest of the race, I'm just like, all I can think about is like, man, I can't wait to see my kids at the finish line, because that there aren't that many races that I do where my kids are there. So I'm like, I can't wait to just like, this lousy day of bike racing is going to be made up when I get to the finish and they're there and they're like stoked and they don't care if I win or lose. Like, and I get to the finish line and they're not even there. It was lunchtime. Like, sorry, but I finished my bike race right at lunchtime. And so they had left to go get McNuggets, and I'm literally like, all I've been looking forward to is hugging my kids, and they're off getting lunch at McDonald's, and I'm like, this is life that's here.
Life. Yeah,
like this is it. Like,
yeah,
yep. But eventually they came back, and it was great.
It's so interesting though too, because I can see the scenario that I explained, like for Blaine, like me wanting him to just go to the race himself. But our situation is going to be a little bit different because post-pregnancy, I can imagine myself wanting to get back to racing pretty quickly. Sure. So it's like, for my situation, I don't think I would want to go to an event without the kid. So I would just have to...
As the participant, you're saying.
Yes.
Right.
So I would just need to have Blaine. Like, Blaine would come and... we would have that discussion of like, this is an event that I'll do this year, and then like maybe you can do next year. Just having your partner there to
that's a balance too. If both you and your significant other are athletes and potentially competing in the same disciplines, like you have to pick and choose. It's pretty rare that maybe there's maybe this scenario where you leave the kids at home and you both go do an event together, or you bring a nanny or a family member, something like that. But otherwise, if you don't have that support, it's physically impossible for both of you to be on course at the same time with your kids there. So that can bring a whole nother level of logistics and decision making. And I think it's important too, and I bring this up because Drew, your example there from Gravel Nats was classic. Everything looks different on paper than it turns out to be in real life. It doesn't matter what it is, and sometimes it's in the best way, and sometimes it can be in the worst way. And you might have, let's say Leadville is your A race, and you've been dreaming about doing Leadville forever. It's the first time you're going there, and you're like, I want my kids to be there at the finish line when I finish Leadville for the first time. You may plan everything around that moment, and then your kids eat lunch.
Yeah.
And now it's like, that whole picture that, you know, the Walgreens world that you imagined, you know, scenario happening, it's like you just can't control everything. So, you know, you got to think about some of that too. You got to have, you know, forward thinking enough to know that it may not work out that way. And if it doesn't work out that way, is it still worth it? Is that still the experience that you were looking to get out of it? Because if the only thing that motivated you, Drew, was getting to that finish line and your kids being there and they weren't there, you know, it's like
heartbreaking.
Totally heartbreaking. So
it was all right.
You gotta think about that too.
In regard to what you just said, and this is just probably general advice on parenting, regardless of if you're trying to race or not, is like you have to adopt a way more flexible, like everything. You know, like you have to be ready for something to change on the dime. Like yesterday, I was on the trainer and I was like, all right, 2.5 hours on the trainer, let's knock this out. And then right after that, I had a phone call. Halfway through the trainer ride, the car shop calls and says, all right, your van's ready to pick up. And like, I hadn't even thought of that. I'm like, oh, crap, who's going to go pick up the van? Like, I have to do that. And so I had to just, like, as much as I hated to do it, I had to end my ride early and go pick up our minivan because we have to have a minivan because we have kids. And it's like, yep, you got to be flexible on that kind of stuff. I mean, that kind of stuff with kids is just going to always happen. And being able to like make those choices or for that stuff to happen, like come at you and you transition real smoothly is going to be much better for you and your wife and for your family.
What I kind of foresee, like watching my friends start to have kids, what I'm starting to plan around is whatever is the most inconvenient option is probably what the infant's going to do, because that's just how infants are. like when we were talking about like, when would the timing be good to have kids? Because like, my wife runs a nonprofit coffee shop, so the time that I'm not racing is her max fundraising season. So like, there's no not stressful part of the year. So we're like, when's the good timing? When's the good timing with funding? Like, when do I have the most clients? Usually every year, so that we just have money available. And the answer is that if we were to lay that out, then the baby would come in the one slot with its least convenient, probably. Because that's just it's Murphy's Law. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, like you just mentioned at the top, you're having a baby the week of nationals. You know, that would obviously, if you guys could choose, you probably would not have picked that time. But that's just how it is, and you're gonna skip nationals this year. It's not the end of the world, you know.
Yeah, and I bet you 3-5 years down the road, like even me missing an elite nationals, nobody will remember. Everybody will assume that I was there.
I bet even you won't remember. You know, like
I probably won't remember 2 weeks after the event, actually.
Yeah.
I definitely won't care at that point. Like, it's nationals is always big for me. I'm just trying to get up there with the World Cup guys at national championships. It just needs to happen. But I'm not going to care. Like the day of that race. Well, okay, I might be racing the local gravel race, but if I'm not, then I'll probably be live streaming nationals and I'm cheering on my teammate, and I don't really. It's fine. I'll be holding a baby.
Yeah, and you know, the cool thing about young kids especially, I don't know at what age this stops being the case, but luckily my kids at 5 and under are still not there yet. Kids don't really care if you just won national championships or if you won your local gravel race. If they're there and they're watching you and you finish that line first, dude, that's like they love that. They don't care.
I don't think they care if you finish first.
Right. But just that's something good to keep in perspective too. Is that you may be racing the national championships and think that this is the biggest thing in the world, and rightfully so. It's okay to have big expectations for yourself and have a different perspective in your own right. But just know that your kids do not appreciate, understand, or care that you're doing nationals or your local short track race.
Dude, well, like kids are easy. Like I mean, like kids, like they're easy to understand. Like your kid's gonna, like, what they want the most is just to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Like literally, like that's what they want the most. Like, somebody told me this years ago, way before I had kids, is like, kids just naturally love the people who spend the most time with them. So like, if you're willing to get down, and this is, I'm even just talking about somebody else's kid. Like, if you're willing to get down and play Barbies with somebody else's kid and spend time with them for an hour, like they're going to love you after that. Like, you know, so same thing holds with your kids. Like they just want to spend time with you. It doesn't matter to what capacity, right? Like that's what they want. They just want you, which is really cool. I mean, like, I think we have all these high expectations of like, oh, I need to, you know, we need to do this and this, and we got to plan this out. Like I have to have all these awesome, my kid has to have all these awesome experiences. And I just think that's not necessarily true if you're just in the picture.
That's one of the things I've been considering for like the trajectory of my racing. Cause like professional career aside, I'm trying to do something that's really difficult that requires a lot of discipline and training and strength to just accomplish. And I want to show my kids that in the future. But of course, the pressure I put on myself is like I've got to get to world championships. I've got to finish like top half in World Cups. I've got to win nationals. I got to be the guy. But realistically, like me continuing to show up to events and be invested in a community and improve myself as an athlete, that's actually what I want to be teaching my kids, because what they take that into, like whether it's a job or their scholastic career or anything like that, if they can just see like chipping away every day and overcoming something, that's what I really need to teach them. They don't need to be the best in the world, which is nice because I'm not going to be the best in the world. That's not happening.
Yeah, I've often thought like, you know,
to your kids you will be.
Yeah. But to my wife I already am, I'm sure.
I often, you know, along those same lines, I'll think to myself a lot like, you know, two thoughts. One similar to what you're saying, like I want my kids to see that I work hard at this and that it's worth putting in this effort and this time to like do something. Like I think there is benefit to that. And then at the same time, I also think, if when my kids are older and somebody were to ask them, you know, be talking to my kids about me being their dad being a professional bike racer, like I want them to say like, oh yeah, I thought that was awesome. Like my dad was a pro bike racer. I don't want them to say like, oh yeah, he rode his bike all the time. I wish he spent more time with us, you know, like, and there's a fine line between that, like, and that's just something that's always on my mind. I'm like, I don't want them to think like, oh, like he rides his bike more than he hangs out with us. Like, I don't want that. I'm like very scared that that's going to happen. And I think hopefully me just knowing that having that awareness will keep me in check on that. But on the flip side, I want them to think it's cool that like on you know, bring your parent into school day and my kid gets to say like, yeah, this is my dad. He races bicycles. Like, I hope I'm the coolest dad there. Like, and I hope she's like proud of that. Like, I don't know. It's just I want her to be stoked that I'm a bike racer and not wishing that I wasn't. And again, that's all priorities. That's all time management. That's
for sure.
Making sure like when I am on the bike, I'm giving my all to that. But when I'm at home, I'm giving my all to my kids and my family.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing cooler than stopping at a gas station for roller dogs and spandex.
Oh, you're talking about your dad being I was like, what does that have anything to do with what you said? I got it. Well, to her, she thinks it's awesome. I mean, like, this is funny. Like, this is cool. I'll be like on the trainer and I'll have on the freaking Tour de France. And she's like, Daddy, where are you? And I'm like, yeah, right. Like, it's just funny. Like, every time we watch a bike race, it's like, are you in this one? Where are you at? Like, and I'm like,
you just gotta tell her this shot's on the Peloton. I'm up the front.
Yeah, right. It's just cool.
Yeah. Okay, well, should we just do you want to give like Jeremy and maybe Caitlin too, their future selves some tips maybe for managing,
like practical?
Because I think where we're coming from is that we both have experience and believe that just because you're having kids doesn't mean you have to give up on your cycling, whether it's career or hobby or passion. You can still dedicate yourself to this craft, and you can still get better. Like there are still gains, whether it's fitness or skills or racing craft. Like you can still improve at this thing, even though you have kids and more responsibilities. Let's give a few tips of like things that you've implemented to help you manage and navigate the balance of being an athlete while also being rockstar dad.
Yeah, give me the bullet point answers from the comprehensive parenting handbook. How to do it all right.
One of my favorite quotes is from a productivity book that I read years ago, and it's systems trump intentions. Meaning you can have the best intentions to get in your big interval day and do this with your kids and cook dinner, but like unless you schedule those things out, like you're leaving it up to all kinds of risk. You know, like if you really want to get in your ride and that's a high priority, do it as early in the day as possible, I think. Because like something that I've learned is the further you go into the day, the more you run the risk of something coming up that's going to replace that ride or push that ride off. So like if it's really important, do it as early in the day as possible and schedule it out. Like me and CJ have a shared Google Calendar where I put all of my schedule stuff in there and she can see it and vice versa. So like, you know, if I've got this podcast, she knows at 10 a.m. on Thursday, Drew's going to be in his office doing the podcast. So like, and if she's got a run that she's going to do with her friends tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., it's like, okay, I know. And we communicate those things, but it's nice to have it down on paper on the calendar that we're constantly referring to. And then alongside that, that's kind of like your daily big things. Alongside that, I use another app called Long Day, Long, Long Day. It's like the most basic app you'll ever download. It's literally just a daily schedule. So like I have it broken up into 30-minute chunks from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. And I can go in there each day. I'll either do it the night before or first thing in the morning, and I'll go in there and say like, okay, here's what I'm doing hour by hour. And I'm not filling in every hour, but like, okay, I've got the podcast at 10. So at 10 a.m. I've got podcast. But like that helps me because I know, okay, if dinner's at 6, I need to reverse engineer that because like if dinner's at 6, I need to be done riding by 5:30. And if it's a 3-hour ride, I can be on the bike no later than 2:30. And I should probably plan just to be on the bike by 2 to give myself some like buffer. And to me, I mean, I know this is like the most basic advice you could ever give, but like to me, having that schedule in place and thinking it through helps me to actually carry out all the things that I need to get done for the day and fit it all in there. Because every kid, like when you have kids, it's like the hours in the day only seem to get like less and less. Like you just, more of those hours get filled up with things that you have to do as a parent or as a coach. And so like being as dialed as possible and scheduling everything out is probably some of the best advice I could give.
Right. Yeah. And I would say, so it's interesting that you have that, what was it called? Long Day app.
Long Day.
You've got your weekly scheduling app or whatever, I guess, holistic, comprehensive scheduling app, which is your Google Calendar that you guys share. Then you've also got your daily routine, schedule. I would say for anyone out there, if you struggle with sleep latency or, worrying or things like that, I would do your scheduling for the day on that day in the morning. Wake up 5 minutes earlier and schedule that day out instead of doing it the night before you go to bed, because all you're going to do when you're trying to fall asleep is like think about how many things, because it can be daunting. It can be really daunting to look at that and be like, wow, every single minute of my day is accounted for. And when you're thinking about that the night before, at least for me, it's like,
I'm the opposite.
Really?
Like I love knowing that, like, okay, here are all the things I'm going to knock out tomorrow, and knowing that like I've got it planned. I'm like, all right, I can go to sleep, like, because tomorrow.
Oh no, I see it.
Yeah, same.
No, I'm on that whatever that verse in Matthew is about, leave tomorrow's worries for tomorrow and worry about today.
Evil is the day for its own worries, or something like that. Yeah,
but because I'm the kind of person that if I have too many things that I'm thinking about the next day, I just won't sleep. I'll just get up and go do those, start doing some of those things. So you gotta be careful with that. That's the same,
but if it goes onto paper, then I can let it go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will be in my head. Yeah.
I'm worried, like, I'm not going to get it done. But when I put it on my schedule, it's like, I am going to get it done at that time tomorrow. So, like, I'll do it then. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I've never tried it, so maybe I could try that. But in my mind, that seems like a recipe for sleep disaster. But I agree with all of that, though, Drew. I think I used to be someone that was very off the cuff, like, kind of just didn't really know exactly what I was doing until I was in the moment doing it, and didn't do a lot of planning, didn't do a lot of like daily scheduling, things like that. And the more, now it's like, if it's not on my calendar, and that includes my training, and this is what I try and harp on all my athletes, like, put your training in your calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's just not getting done. That hour that I thought I had is going to get eaten up by something else, because that time's not blocked out on my, whether it's my Outlook calendar for work or my Google calendar for home or whatever it is. If it's not on there, it's going to get taken up by something else, and then it's just not going to happen. And, and totally agree with the, get it done earlier in the day. I think there's something super relieving about doing a workout first thing in the morning, because you just have the rest of the day, like, mentally, you can free yourself of that. As athletes, it's so common for us to just, like, all we think about when we haven't done our workout yet is, when are we going to do our workout? How are we going to prep for our workout? What am I going to do today to set myself up best for my workout? If you can, and you can just knock that workout out as early in the day as possible, now the rest of the day, you've got some mental freedom that you can focus on some other things. So I think that's great advice. And then going back to it too, I think having flexibility, and it's more than just flexibility. It's having the grace with yourself that if things don't go perfectly for me today in my training and my preparation, that is okay. One thing that I was thinking about this before we were recording today was, a lot of people will take up the mindset that I want to treat every day as a day that I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better at my craft. I'm going to get better at whatever it is. I think to get better at stuff, you also have to just try and minimize getting worse at things. So by that, I mean, like, we know in principality that you cannot get better at cycling every single day. If you got better at cycling every single day, first of all, there'd be someone who'd figured that out by now, and they'd be superhuman. We obviously see some, what seems like superhuman performance, but there's ebbs and flows. You literally cannot just physically get better at something every single day. But what you can do is try and minimize how much worse you get at something that day. And if that means for Drew, like, hey, you get halfway through your trainer ride yesterday and realize that, oh shoot, I forgot about going to pick up the van. Well, hey, I didn't get better today, but I didn't get worse because I at least knocked out 90 minutes. Like, what is that kind of like minimum effective dose to make sure that, like, I'm minimizing the kind of downward trend or, that like decay of, whether it's fitness or whatever it may be. And also trying to get better at something every day sometimes means taking it easy. We've also seen this, I'm sure, with plenty of our athletes who think, if I'm not training hard every single day, I'm not getting better. No, your body needs breaks. Your mind needs breaks. Your equipment needs tending to, whatever it may be. You've got to schedule in and account for that as part of the improvement process. And, so like for myself, I know, one like low hanging fruit that I know I can do if I just end up one of those days where I had it on my calendar, I was going to train from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. I was going to get in, 1 hour hard workout. And for whatever reason that got chewed up, I know there's always like something that I can go to that, like, whether it's 10 minutes even, that I can do that day that's going to at least minimize me getting worse. I'm not going to get better from 10 minutes, but I'm at least going to minimize how much worse I'm getting that day. And I think that's a really like a different perspective to have, and that, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be your best every day, in terms of like all-time PR best. What is the best that you can do on that day to make sure that you're at least not getting worse?
Yeah. There's some neurological principles in there as well, because it's like when you're talking about getting better at something every day, I just want to bring this up because we talk a lot about aerobic training and muscular training, but one of the limiting factors is neural pathways, because you're always tearing down and building up neural pathways at all times of day, but there are only so many that you can structure and rebuild. So one of the problems we're seeing a lot.
That was super interesting. Yeah, if you can keep talking about that. You said like we have the ability to build and tear down neural pathways, or?
Yeah, no, we're constantly building and tearing down neural pathways. Our brains are constantly regenerating, but there are only so many of those that we can do at one time. And when we're doing something like pedaling a bike, then we're building a pathway to the neuromuscular systems. And we're teaching our body to turn the legs over in a specific way, to recruit muscles in a specific way. That's why like doing glute activations and stuff like that, you're teaching your body, you're building a neural pathway to that neuromuscular system. And you're going to activate
Myelin.
those better. Yeah, there we go. Well,
Myelin sheathing.
That protects the nerves. But yeah, there's a lot of building up and breaking down of the nerves. But there's only so much of that you can do in a day. So it's one thing to think about with scheduling, where it's like if you have a ton of items, you're not going to improve in many of those. You're going to improve in some of them because you're going to have better attention to some of them. You're going to build those neural pathways. But if you're just entirely overwhelmed, that is when you're actually going to start getting worse at them. Or when you're doom scrolling social media, you're doom scrolling the news, you're building these neural pathways that aren't going anywhere, and you're using all your energy to just like have no attention span.
Yes.
So that's actually a problem that
Screw social media. Burn it to the ground. Yeah.
It's a tool, but we don't treat it as a tool. We treat it as an end-all be-all, and then we end up in the Fahrenheit 451. We need a fourth wall TV for the family, and we're financially screwed and don't have any attention.
Oh, wow. That was a rabbit hole.
Oh, I could. Rabbit
back
holes.
To parenting, maybe?
Yeah, maybe back to parenting. But building the schedule, then it's like you don't really want to cram. And like some of my college athletes, they're writing papers on the trainer. And I'll write training on the trainer too if I'm like doing an easy spin. But if I'm doing a focused workout, I don't want to be building 2 neural pathways at once. I want to be focused on a smooth pedal stroke, and that's it. And then I get off, I recover, I give my body the nutrients it needs to build those neural pathways, those fatty acids and proteins and everything, and the carbohydrate to fuel it. And then once you're recovered, once you're fueled, next task. So going back to like Andrew's schedules and having them broken down smaller and smaller, I have a sticky note with every day that's got like the priority items. And I try not to have any more than 5 priority items. Ideally, it's 3, but life is what it is. And then there are other items. So if I get those priority items done, I move on to the other items. But
yeah, it's a good way to do it.
Training's always one of them, and training's always about the same time of day. So usually I start training between like 9 and 10 a.m. After training camp, I've been so tired that now it's 10 or 11 a.m. And today I have to put a dropper post on my bike if I want to survive the gnarly trails. So it's going to be more like 11:30. But yeah, like today's priority items, we had this podcast, which was originally in the afternoon, but now it's morning.
Sorry.
And then we've got 3 hours of mountain bike skills, a core workout, and a sauna session. Core workout, that some of those are combined. I have to do that for my sanity. But then there's some coaching items that I need to do, and that's the last priority item. And then all the like sponsor emails, calling my teammates and stuff like that to figure things out. Those are on the other things today, or they'll be priority items tomorrow if I don't get them to them today. Yeah. All that to say, you only have I only have 1 neuron. Everybody only has a few neurons, so we have to choose which ones we're using, because if we're building that neural pathway to be strong, we're great. But if we're trying to build multiple at once, we're going to end up with this tree of pathways that don't go anywhere and not quite enough energy to get to the end of any of them.
Sure.
So it's one good thing to think of with improvement on anything in any given day.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I'm trying to think of other advice. I think like one of the big things for me is having like an on-off switch, you know, especially working from home. And I'm sure a ton of people can relate with working from home nowadays post-COVID, but having the mental off switch of like, okay, I'm turning off work and I'm going to go hang out with my family and spend time with them. And the only reason I bring this up is because I struggle with this like all the time. Like CJ does not like it when I'm looking at emails in the afternoon or in the evenings, you know, after dinner. She doesn't like it when I'm late to dinner because I've scheduled an athlete call right at dinner time. Those are the kinds of things that I'm still working on. And just for my family's sake, like if I'm already committing most of my day to training and coaching and all the stuff that needs to get done on the job side of things, when I do get to like spend time with my family, I need to make sure that I'm all in on that and like not also kind of worrying about this other stuff job related. Like you really do have to have like an on-off switch for that stuff. And
right.
I don't know I'm still trying to figure that part of it out because, you know, the worries of work stuff are always there. But for my family's sake, like I want to make sure I'm present with them when I'm done with that stuff.
I have so many questions. We're gonna have to have a part 2 and maybe like a women specific part 2, like for like training through pregnancy and what it'll look like training postpartum. Because,
dude, you know, Laura King would be an amazing guest because she made a really good, and I mean, she probably already has podcasts, but I should try to get her on for that, for what you're talking about. We should do from the mom's perspective and have Laura King on as a guest. I think we could
try to get Aaron Huck on too.
Oh,
do you know her?
Yeah, I know Aaron Huck.
I'm friends with Laura.
Area,
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
One of my biggest questions is going to be like, when there are already so many obstacles in place to make it easy to walk away from cycling after you have a baby, because like you are this thing's food source and like there's so many other things going on, and then trying to figure out like now you have this thing that's so much more important than cycling. Like, how do you then rationalize setting aside 3 hours to go ride, to go train for what? Like, I mean, I have every intention to come back to that then, but I can just see it being kind of difficult to get into that mindset. So
I mean, just from a personal perspective, and I know it's totally different from a dad's perspective from a mom, so like take this with a grain of salt, but something that's helped me to not feel guilty when I'm training is like I'm a better version of me, including a dad, when I am focused on my training. When I'm not like training, and this, I guess, is just the type of personality I have and the goals that I have set for myself. Like when I'm not training or training isn't going well, that definitely has an effect on basically every other part of my life, including, you know, me being a dad. And maybe that's just sad to admit that that's how important cycling is to me. But even just from like a exercise perspective, like I just think I'm totally convinced that if we're exercising and keeping our bodies healthy, that is only going to help us be a better parent to our kids, I think.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
And again, with I'm also speaking from a future father's perspective, so got to take it with more grains of salt. But again, having those goals, like whether it just be I'm gonna finish this race, I'm gonna show up to this race. I just think that's a really important part of setting an example for kids and showing them that it's okay to pursue your hopes and dreams. Like I growing up, I developed this sense of like everything needs to have a purpose, and everything needs to have a long-term, lifelong purpose. And I still struggle with that with a bike racing career, because I know that there's a ticking clock on that. There's only so long that I can race at an elite level, and then I can have fun with it, but there's still a ticking clock on that. Like eventually I'm gonna have to put it down. And part of that's just because I have 5 siblings. My parents only parented. That's the only thing. So they weren't pursuing hobbies or whatever. They were to some extent. So I do a lot of random art things because that's what my parents did. But showing
Jeremy wrote a book. Jeremy wrote a book of poetry, if you didn't know. You can buy his book of poems. It's on my bookshelf at home.
It's just ADHD, man. No, but speaking to you, Drew, like this is the way that we process stress. Like it's actually chemically the way that we've taught our bodies to process cortisol is long endurance training. So that's one of the reasons that we do so much better in life in general when we're doing these events, is that we've taught our bodies to buffer the stresses of life through that medium. And you'll see artists too, like they've taught themselves to process their stress through that medium. And I've done both, so I just have to hobby 24/7. But,
they have those backpacks, those toddler backpacks that you can just strap your kid to your chest. I'm sure you could paint or write poetry with a kid strapped to your chest.
Dude, I shoot my bow with my kid in my backpack all the time.
God.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, all the time.
Wow. Oh, that's incredible. But yeah, showing kids that these are goals worth pursuing, and setting up like what the standard of of worth pursuing means, because it's not, it doesn't need to save the world or make you all the money to be worth putting a lot of time into. It's like, if it brings you joy, put a lot of time into it. It's worth it.
I think it's an identity discussion too, just as like pre-parent, our identity should not just be cycling. Like, once you become a parent, your identity should not only be a parent. That also adds a lot of pressure on the kid. Like, if the kid sees you, like, tell everyone, like, I'm a dad first and foremost, and everything is surrounded around the kid, like, then they kind of grow up with this, I don't want to say pressure, but like this feeling of like, oh, I can't do anything to disappoint my parent. Like, it's all about,
it's almost like performative at that point.
Yeah. So for them to see mom or dad off doing their thing, and that's probably pretty important.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool, guys. This was really fun, Jeremy.
Wait, one more quick advice. One more quick, because this one's been big for me.
I've got a
this is a long episode.
Jeremy would say, non-prioritative mating in 4 minutes. So let's go.
Okay, I got a quick one. I think just having a really good community around you too, and we get that from our local church. Like, there's been so many times where me and CJ are scratching our heads. We're like, we don't know what to do with our kid in this situation. And a lot of times that has to do with discipline. It's like, do we discipline her for this? You know, like, and we don't know. We're like, I don't know. Like, do we know? And so having like other people in our church that are older than we are, who've already parented their kids, to go to and ask for advice has just been key for us. I mean, so many times we've gone to this older couple in our church who we kind of look up to as like a second set of parents for us. And we know that they are like so focused on their faith and on Christ that, like, if we go to them, their values are going to align with ours, which is really important. You may not be a Christian and listening to this, but I think having other people whose values align with yours and having those people as counselors in your life can be very, very helpful when you're raising a kid. Because there are a lot of times where, like, Jeremy, you're about to be a new dad. Like, there can be so many things that you have no idea. Like, they let you leave the hospital with this thing, and you're like, there's no book, there's no like to-do list. It's like the only thing they do is make sure that you know how to put it in the car seat. Like, that's it. And they tell you not to shake it. They said, don't shake it because you might break their neck or something, or mess up their brain.
Rattle their brain.
And they make sure you can put it in the car seat. Besides that, like, there's nothing. So, like, having other people when you get home that you can call and ask for help is key.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Good point. And if you want to minimize the stress around configuring your training plan and how everything is going to fit together and how to prioritize doing what workouts, you can always hire a coach to help reduce the responsibility in that regard. That's something that I think, you know, it's funny. I get a lot of athletes that will come to me and they'll come to me and say, like, I'm not the usual person. I've got this and that and so many things going on. Like, I'm going to be hard to coach. And I'm like, no, you are the perfect person to coach. If you've got all the time in the world and you don't have any other priorities and all you got to do is focus on training, I don't need to coach you. Like, you just go out and do as much training as you can. And it's probably not going to be that hard to do. If you have so many things going on that you have 7 hours a week to train and we have to maximize every single minute of those 7 hours, like, that's what's fun. That's what's relatable. That's applicable to most people. And that's where we get to, like, fit all the pieces of the puzzle together. So I love taking those athletes on. I love, like, shift workers or, people that have a dozen kids and, have no idea how to fit things together. I mean, it's like the more complex, the more fun I think our jobs as coaches is, and the more, probably, the higher value that we can bring too, because we're actually, we're helping you put your life in, some form of prioritization, at least in the training and physical health side of things. So, if you need some help with that, navigating those waters, reach out. And we can hook you up with any of how many coaches we have now, Drew? 15? 25 coaches. So if there's not a coach for you within...
And we need more.
If there's not a coach within Ignition Coach Code that will work for you, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm sure there's some...
Yeah, one of the questions on the intake form is, what does your family life look like? And that's kind of, if you put on there you got a bunch of kids, well then
it's very important.
Coach, having a coach who's also had kids that you can relate to and who can give you the kind of advice that we're giving here is definitely an aspect of like who I'm going to try to connect you with for coaching. You know, like one of the things with Ignition that we try to pride ourselves on is like that coach-athlete relationship. So we don't just pair you up with some random coach. We try to think through, okay, which one of our coaches that's available will be the best coach for you.
Yep. Cool, guys. This was really fun. Jeremy, loved having you on. Good luck with things. We would, if we don't hear from you or touch base with you before baby comes, we'd love to hear some new perspective on life and training and racing and everything after the baby comes. So we'll have to do some kind of follow-up episode there. And then as Caitlin mentioned, I mean, I feel like we could have talked about this for 6 hours today, easy. So I'm sure there's going to be some follow-up questions that people have out there. And I do think it'd be worthwhile to have a follow-up episode where we take things from a more motherly perspective. We'd love to try and curate that and put that together. But if you have any questions out there, feel free to submit those. Go to ignitioncoachco.com and fill out the Matchbox Podcast listener question form, or you can drop us an email at matchboxpod@gmail.com. All right.
Sweet.
Over and out.
See ya.
See ya.